The 1964 Alaskan Earthquake, also known as the Great Alaskan Earthquake and Good Friday Earthquake, occurred at 5:36 p.m.AST on Good Friday, March 27. Across south-central Alaska, ground fissures, collapsing structures, and tsunamis resulting from the earthquake caused about 139 deaths, lasting 4 minutes and 38 seconds. The magnitude 9.2 megathrust earthquake was the most powerful recorded in North American history, and the second most powerful recorded in world history. Soil liquefaction, fissures, landslides, and other ground failures caused major structural damage in several communities and much damage to property. Anchorage sustained great destruction and damage to many inadequately earthquake-engineered houses, buildings, and infrastructure, particularly in the several landslide zones along Nick Arm. 200 miles southwest, some areas near Kodiak were permanently raised by 30 feet. Southeast of Anchorage, areas around the head of Turnagain Arm near Girdwood and Portage dropped as much as 8 feet, requiring reconstruction and fill to raise the Seward Highway above the new high tide mark. In Prince William Sound, Port Valdez suffered a massive underwater landslide, resulting in the deaths of 30 people between the collapse of the Valdez City harbor and docks, and inside the ship that was docked there at the time. Nearby, a 27-foot tsunami destroyed the village of Chenaga, killing 23 of the 68 people who lived there. Survivors outran the wave, climbing to high ground. Post-quake tsunamis severely affected Whittier, Seward, Kodiak, and other Alaskan communities, as well as people and property in British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and California. Tsunamis also caused damage in Hawaii and Japan. Evidence of motion directly related to the earthquake was reported from all over the world. Geology. At 5:36 p.m. Alaska Standard Time, a fault between the Pacific and North American plates ruptured near College Fjord in Prince William Sound. The epicenter of the earthquake was 12.4 miles north of Prince William Sound, 78 miles east of Anchorage and 40 miles west of Valdez. The focus occurred at a depth of approximately 15.5 miles. Ocean floor shifts created large tsunamis in height, which resulted in many of the deaths and much of the property damage. Large rock slides were also caused, resulting in great property damage. Vertical displacement of up to 38 feet occurred, affecting an area of 100,000 miles squared within Alaska. Studies of ground motion have led to a peak ground acceleration estimate of 0.14 to 0.18 grams. The Alaska earthquake was a subduction zone earthquake caused by an oceanic plate sinking under a continental plate. The fault responsible was the Aleutian megathrust, a reverse fault caused by compressional force. This caused much of the uneven ground, which is the result of ground shifted to the opposite elevation. Tsunamis. Two types of tsunamis were produced by this subduction zone earthquake. There was a tectonic tsunami produced in addition to about 20 smaller and local tsunamis. These smaller tsunami were produced by submarine and subaerial landslides and were responsible for the majority of the tsunami damage. Tsunami waves were noted in over 20 countries, including Peru, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Japan, and Antarctica. The largest tsunami wave was recorded in Shope Bay, Alaska, with a height of about 220 feet. Death toll, damage, and casualties. As a result of the earthquake, 139 people are believed to have died. 15 died as a result of the earthquake itself. 106 died from the subsequent tsunami in Alaska. 5 died from the tsunami in Oregon, and 13 died from the tsunami in California. The quake was a reported She on the modified Mercalli intensity scale, indicating major major structural damage and ground fissures and failures. Property damage was estimated at about $311 million. Anchorage Area. Most damage occurred in Anchorage, 75 miles northwest of the epicenter. Anchorage was not hit by tsunamis, but downtown Anchorage was heavily damaged, and parts of the city built on sandy bluffs overlying Bootlegger Cove Clay near Cook Inlet, most notably the Turn Again neighborhood, suffered landslide damage. The neighborhood lost 75 houses in the landslide, and the destroyed area has since been turned into Earthquake Park. The Government Hill School suffered from the Government Hill landslide, leaving it in two jagged, broken pieces. Land overlooking the Ship Creek Valley near the Alaska Railroad yards also slid, destroying many acres of buildings and city blocks in downtown Anchorage. Most other areas of the city were only moderately damaged. The 60-foot concrete control tower at the Anchorage International Airport was not engineered to withstand earthquake activity and collapsed, killing William George Taylor, the Federal Aviation Agency air traffic controller on duty in the tower cab at the time the earthquake began. One house on W. 10th Avenue suffered peripheral damage, but only one block away the recently completed Four Seasons building on 9th Avenue collapsed completely, with the concrete elevator shaft sticking up out of the rubble like a seesaw. The hamlets of Girdwood and Portage, located 30 and 40 miles southeast of central Anchorage on the Turn Again Arm, were destroyed by subsidence and subsequent tidal action. Girdwood was relocated inland and Portage was abandoned. About 20 miles of the Seward Highway sank below the high water mark of Turn Again Arm. The highway and its bridges were raised and rebuilt in 1964–66. Elsewhere in Alaska, most coastal towns in the Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula, and Kodiak Island areas, especially the major ports of Seward, Whittier and Kodiak, were heavily damaged by a combination of seismic activity, subsidence, post-quake tsunamis, and/or earthquake-caused fires. Valdez was not totally destroyed, but after 3 years, the town relocated to higher ground 7 kilometers west of its original site. Some Alaska Native villages, including Chenega and Afognak, were destroyed or damaged. The earthquake caused the Cold War-era ballistic missile detection radar of Clear Air Force Station to go offline for 6 minutes, the only unscheduled interruption in its operational history. Near Cordova, the $1 million bridge crossing the Copper River also collapsed. The community of Girdwood was also confined to the southern side of the Seward Highway when water rushed into Turn Again Arm and flooded or destroyed any buildings left standing to the north of the highway. Interestingly, only the ground immediately along the highway and that on the north side of the road dropped, prompting geologists to speculate that Girdwood may rest upon an ancient cliff face, now covered by countless thousands of years of sediment and glacial deposits. Canada. A 4.5 feet wave reached Prince Rupert, British Columbia, just south of the Alaska Panhandle, about 3 hours after the earthquake. The tsunami then reached Tofino, on the exposed west coast of Vancouver Island, and traveled up a fjord to hit Port Alberni twice, washing away 55 homes and damaging 375 others. The towns of Hot Springs Cove, Zebelos, and Amai also saw damage. The damage in British Columbia was estimated at $10 million Canadian. Elsewhere, 12 people were killed by the tsunami in and near Crescent City, California, while 4 children were killed on the Oregon coast at Beverly Beach State Park. Other coastal towns in the U.S. Pacific Northwest and Hawaii were damaged. Minor damage to boats occurred as far south as Los Angeles. Effects of the earthquake were even noted as far east as Texas. tide gauges in frequent recorded waves similar to seismic surface waves. In the Florida Everglades, an artesian aquifer located near Lake Chequers saw its water flow rate double from 3 million gallons per day to 6 million gallons per day, 60 to 90 minutes after the first shock of the earthquake. Aftershocks. There were hundreds of aftershocks in the first weeks following the main shock. In the first day alone, 11 major aftershocks were recorded with a magnitude greater than 6.0. 9 more struck over the next 3 weeks. In all, thousands of aftershocks occurred in the months following the quake, and smaller aftershocks continued to strike the region for more than a year.